Hi, it's Ian, and welcome back to my 30 Days of Taiko Skills. Today is day 9, and I'm talking about holding Bachi. So there's probably many different ways to think about how to hold the Bachi. Depends on your philosophy and training and the kind of music you play, the kind of sticks you're holding, the kind of drums you're playing on. Many, many factors. Of course, there's no one correct way. There's many different ways that can work. So today I'm talking about my personal approach, and I have a few different kinds of sticks to demonstrate the way I think about holding Bachi. So the first one is the one I've been using for most of these videos is the 32 centimeter Hinoki Shimebachi, which is just fine on a regular rubber practice pad like this. It's quite short, it's quite light, and because of that, we tend to hold the sticks pretty far down. And I've noticed in workshops that when I ask people to try to hold sticks like this, if they're not used to this kind of stick or this kind of stick hold, it might be a little bit tricky to keep it right there. So in this case, this is also the way that I was taught to hold the bachi to play edobayashi. It's pretty much the way that Wakayama Shachu or the Wakayama Ryu edobayashi is taught. So the end of the stick is all the way into the middle of the palm, and the pinky doesn't even touch the stick. It's the third finger that is on the very edge of the stick, and that's about where it is. The main part is the thumb and first finger. So this, keeping the thumb on and using this thumb as a kind of a support point against the other side where the first finger is, and allowing it to rock on around the curvature of the thumb. This is something that I use on every single size drumstick and taiko stick for certain applications. So having your thumb and first finger across from each other, I think gives you the most control and most ability to play kind of intricate, kind of faster material. So, and something like edobayashi, that makes sense because there's a lot of faster and intricate rhythms contained in that music. So if this was a much, much heavier stick, even if it was this short, I might choke up a little bit more because the balance point would be not quite right. So this Hinoki 32 centimeter or the whole 32 centimeter, the next harder wood, I would probably still hold it right around there. And yeah, I'm used to it and it feels quite good to me. You can get quite a big sound by using the proper technique, even if it's such a small, light, short stick. Next, I have the whole, I'm not sure exactly how long, about 40 centimeters or so. This might be used for taiko set, or maybe if you're playing one medium-sized okedo, or maybe katsugi okedo, or something like that. Not ideal for just a regular shime daiko, but in this case, it's quite a bit longer than the other stick. And because of that, the place that we would hold it, or where I tend to hold it, is about 2 or 3 fingers up from the bottom. So we want to see a little bit of space there. So this has a lot to do with just the length and the weight and the balance point of it. But I like to hold it right around there, still with the same exact thumb and first finger hold, and the other fingers are just loosely wrapped around with a little bit of play. So this play, I've heard this kind of spacing within your hand for the stick to move around freely. I think in Western drumming, teachers often call this the play, but I've heard it in Japanese taiko teaching. I've heard it called asobi, which is the same exact word. In Japanese, asobi means play. So it's good to have a little bit of asobi in the back so that the stick can freely move. You don't want to grip it tightly like this where the stick can't move around. So pretty much the same as holding the short stick, except you have some stuff sticking out on the bottom. And because of that extra weight and a little bit more material on the back, you do feel more rebound. And I think you can utilize that asobi more when you have a longer stick. So, of course, you might still hold it way back here, even for longer sticks like this, but you won't really be able to feel that rebound because the balance point is not quite right for this length of a stick. So the only reason I would hold it back here is if I was trying to play a very large drum and this stick was too soft, but that's all I had, and I was still trying to get a pretty big sound out of a large drum. That's the only time I would hold it way back here. Otherwise, it'd be better to get a bigger stick for a larger drum, and then still hold it in a nice spot where you get good balance. The next size is what I would use typically for chudaiko playing. This is a maple stick. It's about 41 centimeters, I believe. And it's the same thing with this. Once we start getting into larger drums, I don't only hold it with the thumb and first finger grip, but I often do anytime I'm playing faster rhythms or more intricate rhythms. I still use that same grip that I've been talking about. Same concept, about 3 or 4 fingers between the pinky and the end of the stick. And then if I need to play bigger, then I allow my thumb to come off a little bit so that there's more asobi on the front part or the top part of the hand. And then rarely do I ever make a complete fist grip, because I think the only reason to have a fist grip is because you don't want the thumb on the stick. And I think I can accomplish the same kind of idea with the thumb slightly off. It doesn't have to be all the way like here, like you'd be forming a fist like this. So this also makes it seem like you have to grip too much. And there's actual conscious reason why I don't call these grips. I call them stick holds because to me, the way we're holding the stick should not be a grip. It should just be a way to hold the stick. And we can still be relaxed, let the music flow, let the stick and the drum do more of the work and use the rebound and have a relaxed stroke so that you can play longer, have a better sound, and avoid injury and so on. So that's my approach. I can play pretty loud actually with a thumb and first finger stick hold, but there's a certain point where if your sticks are getting higher and higher and you're playing louder and louder, that's when my thumb will slightly come off to about here. But it's good to be able to very quickly put it back on and off. If you're playing long, loud, very loud, big hits with small hits in between that are quicker, don 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 don, something like that. I would probably very quickly switch for the faster, smaller stuff with the thumb and first finger grip, and then for the big stuff, take the thumb off so that I have a little bit more freedom and the stick can travel within the hand a little bit more. And finally, I have a much bigger stick that might be used for odaiko or something like that, some larger drum, larger than a typical chudaiko. And yeah, this is a little bit smaller than what I would use for a true odaiko bachi, but the idea is the same thing. Same as just what I had just explained with the chudaiko bachi. For something like this, I would still, for faster rhythms and intricate things, I would still use that same technique. I still have about 4 fingers between the pinky and the end of the stick. I still have that asobi and still use the wrist hits. But as soon as I need to go louder, the thumb can just come off and then the stick can move more freely on the top part of the hand here. And it can go like this a little bit more. So if I was trying to play a very, very large odaiko with this stick that's slightly undersized, then again, I might have to go back and hold it toward the end a little bit more to get more weight up here in the front. But otherwise, I wouldn't default to this because it's not really the best balance point. To me, the balance point, it feels right around there feels good regarding how the stick is rebounding and responding to the drum head or the practice pad in this case. So yeah, it's if I wanted more sound, I would pick up a bigger stick rather than trying to hold it on the end. And the same thing, if you have too big of a stick, you could try to lighten it by going quite a bit more choked up. This is something I've had to do before as well. I might do that on this stick, on the second stick I had. If all I had was this stick and I was trying to get the nicest sound out of a Taiko, I might choke up quite a bit to try to mimic the weight and balance of the first stick, which I think has the best sound on Taiko. So you can manipulate where you're holding the stick to either try to get a lighter sound on a smaller drum or a bigger sound on a larger drum. But I think each stick usually has kind of an ideal area that feels really good. And, ideally, we want to pick the right stick and then still have the ideal holding area. And that might mean that you have a pretty big stick bag and you have many different kinds of bachi depending on what kind of drum you're playing. And then, of course, it gets more complicated if you're mixing multiple 2 or more drums at the same set or something like that. It just gets more complicated. So sometimes there are pieces written where you have one Daiko and one Daiko, and that is quite challenging because there's no stick that will sound good on both. So you have to figure out what's the material, what's the length, where do I want to hold it, and how can you make each drum sound the best you can with that one choice stick that you've had to make. So there's a lot of considerations, but to me, it's really all about trying to figure out where is the best place to hold and which stick is the best for that instrument and for that piece. So hopefully it makes you think a little bit about the kinds of bachi that you have. And it's never a bad thing to get more bachi and try them out. And one more thing I'll mention with bachi is that if you have a group where multiple people are playing the exact same part on very similar drums, like let's say you have 4 Daiko parts playing identical parts, then if you have 4 very different kinds of bachi, it's going to be quite difficult to make it sound uniform. So visually, that would be one thing to make it look visually uniform, but if you have different kinds of sticks or different concepts of how to hold it, if somebody chokes up more, somebody holds it way on the end. If somebody grips it a lot, another person has a lot of play or asobi in the stick. All these things might make a difference in how uniform that one part would sound across those 4 drums. So I think it's kind of a deep topic in how to hold. It's also quite personal, and it depends, of course, on how you were taught or what kind of music you've studied. But I think it's definitely worth investigating and look into your own stick hold experience and philosophy, and maybe investigate some other ones, try them out, and see if it works for you. Okay, that was it for today, and I'll see you on the next one.